Hey everyone, how are you? It is me, Dottie. It's Monday, and here I am talking to you again. One day, I promise I'll get used to recording on the iPad and not continuously looking at myself. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, I'm doing this video kind of as a response to Janine, Pink Fish Lily, something like that. Sorry if I got that wrong. But also just to talk about my own issues with anxiety again. I think I have talked about it a bit, but first of all, girl, you are not alone. Second of all, I just love you, and I am so glad that you shared it. And I don't think of it as a weakness. I don't think any less of you. And I'm sure you've realized by sharing and by all the comments that you've gotten that, yeah, you're definitely not alone. And a lot of us, even those that appear strong on the exterior, get anxious once in a while. Now, in my case, I have anxiety, but I also have depression. And that is no fun. I didn't really have any anxiety issues until, I guess I should say the first bout of anxiety that I had was really a long time ago when my mom was still alive. I want to say it was, oh my gosh, I don't know, in the 90s. But she was still alive, and she actually worked in the building that I worked in. She was in the benefits department, and I worked in word processing, which doesn't even exist anymore. But, and she was having she would have issues now and then. She was very morbidly obese. She had really large legs, lymphedema, liquid would pool in her legs and make walking difficult, and she had sores all over, and they would, seep fluids, and so people would talk about the odor in the area, and a lot of this stuff, some of it would get back to me, and, when people talk like that about your mom, it's just really hard to take. And then it got to the point where one day she was brought to emergency, and I left and to go with her, and that's the first time I found out about, diabetes and things, and it's the first time that I saw her lower legs, and oh my gosh, they were like purple and black, and it was just horrific. So, anyway, it was around that time that I had my first bouts of anxiety, and I didn't know what it was. I got scared. I started feeling the heart palpitation type stuff, and I ended up going to the doctor myself and getting an EKG, and then that was fine. And when my mom ended up getting let go, I think is how it worked out, I no longer felt the anxiety at work with regard to that. And I also cut back on caffeine because I was drinking some cappuccinos at the time too. But, and then I didn't have so much of an issue for a long time. But I did go on blood pressure meds at that time too. And then the next bout of anxiety I had was really last summer, and I'm pretty sure I shared it. I basically tried bringing my fears to the front to face them, and last summer was, a lot of it I think kind of started to surface after grief counseling when my dad died, and the guilt and all of that I felt because I didn't make very big efforts to visit with my dad or to spend time with him because, quite frankly, he just wasn't, I guess he didn't meet the expectations I had of a dad, and so therefore I stayed away after I got married and everything, and then when he died, I felt the guilt and the resentments and everything. And so last summer, you know, with all the social networking and your family being on and everything, I posted some stuff on Facebook, and it triggered huge panic attack. A big panic attack, something that I hadn't felt before, where I was shaking and jittering and scared to death of the reaction that I might get from, like, his sister and stuff like that. And I didn't say anything horrible. I just kind of brought to light some very deep fears that I've had my entire life. Always afraid of my dad. Also thought he was an ass. But being an adult, I tried to, you know, recognize that I wouldn't be here without him. He had part to do with that. So I was trying to recognize that, I guess. But that was the first real panic, anxiety attack. And I shook, and I got the warmth, the heart beating, it scared me. And then the doctor ended up calling in some Xanax, and I remember taking it. Actually, I don't know why, but I drove myself to the pharmacy to get it, and I took one in the parking lot, and that was not a good idea. I had to talk my way through driving all the way home because it, like, hit me that quick, I guess. Or maybe it was all in my head, I don't know. But it was a scary drive home. I made it home, but it was scary. I ended up being off work for 6 to 8 weeks or more. And it was tough. It was tough. And then just recently, 4 weeks ago, I had my second anxiety panic attack, and this one was even scarier because it started at work, and I was walking around with the guy I work with, and we were doing desk visits and stuff, things I normally do, and I'm not even sure exactly what someone said or how all of a sudden it triggered that warmth, whoosh feeling that Janine called it. I started to get really warm everywhere in my chest, and I started breathing heavy. And I remember sitting down. I was near someone's office, and I sat down in their office, and everybody started fanning me, and I didn't know what was happening. I kind of felt like I was in some other realm of reality or something, but I started blurting out stuff about the fact that I was a YouTuber because I had never talked about that to anybody in public. And I started saying stuff about my weight and about people on YouTube helping me out and why I wore these particular bracelet wristband things that I had on that day, which I don't have them on anymore, but everything. I just started babbling at work, and they called my husband. He came and got me. Thank God I have my husband. Took me home, and he was, I guess, texting back and forth with my counselor, therapist, psychologist, whatever you call her, who was out of town, because it was around spring break, and she suggested that they take me to the hospital, to the ER, and so it was really late, or like in the middle of the night, that they took me to the ER, and And they wanted me, the social worker at the ER wanted to send me straight to Pine Rest, which is a mental facility. And my husband wouldn't sign for that. He's like, she just needs to get some sleep and she needs to settle down. Give her something to calm her brain down. Because it was just going, the brain. It wasn't, every night that whole week prior kind of led up to that attack, I guess. And that's when I was doing the school stuff and so worried about getting a paper done, so worried about work, so worried about everything. My daughter going to Disney. I was just, every day was some new worry, and without even realizing it, I was sabotaging myself with not eating. I wasn't getting any sleep at night. I couldn't get to sleep, even when I turned everything down, shut down the computers, the TVs, everything. I tried to listen to music, and the words to the music would either make me sad or cry or whatever, and I just couldn't shut down. And so I was operating on 2 hours of sleep a night, if that, and it finally caught up. And at the hospital they took blood, they did a CT scan, they did an EKG. Thankfully all of that turned out fine, but they did give me Ativan before I left the hospital, which really knocked me for a loop. I don't take pills often, and so it really did. That was a very scary situation. It was very scary, and since then I, dropped the classes, no more school, and I've been trying real hard not to worry and think about or overthink. It's very difficult because it's like I'm hypersensitive to so much. Things that I don't have any control of, things are nowhere near me, things that, just everything. And then on top of it, my daughter graduating high school, going to be going off to college, turning 40, well, no, I'm going to be 42 actually. Just so much, and scared me to death. And I haven't been back to the gym since then. I know Janine talked about, the eating bit. It's so true. I haven't, since that whole episode, I've just been focusing on just trying to find happiness and be happy in any way I can. And that's not to say that I'm like pigging out, because I'm not, but I'm not stressing about keeping a food log or getting so many steps in or any of that stuff, because quite frankly, I really think it's one of the triggers as well, on top of school, that I was trying to do and stuff. And so I just want to try to live a healthy lifestyle, and I don't think this weight will go anywhere unless I can find some sort of happiness within. You talked about, not being happy with yourself and this and that, and I so get that, because I have a husband, I have kids, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I am so grateful that I have that, because if I didn't, I probably would be in a mental institution. And I'm the type that is afraid to take the pills. I haven't taken an Ativan since that day, or since a couple days after. I was off work for a few days, so I did take them at night only. But I haven't since, and the doctors got me, prescribed me Xanax, but I haven't taken any of that. And it's a very small dose. It's like a 0.25 or a 0.5. But I'm afraid to take it. I'm afraid that I won't be able to function well at work or anywhere. Things that can be addictive, I'm afraid to take because of the addictive tendencies in my family and in my genetics. The doctor said I could do a stress test if I wanted to give myself peace of mind with my heart. And the type she had wanted me to do was like like where they inject medicine or something to make your heart beat fast like it's exercising, and then they inject the dyes and they monitor it and whatnot, and then they give you another medicine to slow it down. I don't want to do it. I guess I'm just like, because of how little bit of medicine it takes to make me feel like I'm gonna pass out, I'm afraid they'll give me too much. So I get nervous about that even. Is that crazy and silly? I don't know, but that's just the way I am right now. But I don't think anxiety and depression is a weakness. It comes from somewhere. You don't make it up. And it does affect you physically. I think it's a big, big part of why it's a big part of why I haven't been able to lose all the weight like so many of you others have. That the anxiety and the depression, combined with the fact that I'm over 40, my hormones are probably completely out of whack. The PCOS, just all of it. So it's tough. It really is. So, since that hospital visit, I've been doing much better every day and each week as it passes. And if you're going to think I'm weak, or if anybody's going to think we're weak because we deal with this, then so be it. Everybody's different. We're our own person, and I'm pretty convinced that the way I was treated as a child has had a huge effect on the way I see the world close to me and far away. The way I see myself in it. At work, I have a hard time being convinced of, how wonderful I am, or how, it's that whole confidence thing. I get it. That's me. I'm very grateful I have my husband and kids. Thank God for them. Thank God for those on YouTube and Facebook that have befriended me. And it's tough. It really is tough. It just really, really is. So I'm healing. I'm afraid of having more of those attacks, and hopefully it doesn't happen, because it is so scary. Anyways, 19 minutes. If you sat through this, I appreciate it, and thanks for listening. And one day at a time. One day at a time. It's not easy. Anxiety is just not easy. And neither is depression. So, peace and love. We will see you later. Love you.